Here's a twist that nobody saw coming in the Connor Stalions scouting scandal. What if the former Michigan staffer wasn't actually working for the Wolverines when he got caught on the sidelines? The Connor Stalions advanced scouting controversy just took an unexpected turn, and it's raising some serious questions about loyalty, NCAA violations, and who was really calling the shots. For months, college football fans assumed that when Stalions showed up at the Central Michigan versus Michigan State matchup in 2023, he was there doing dirty work for his Michigan employers. But here's where it gets controversial. New evidence suggests he was actually helping Central Michigan, not spying for the Wolverines. Let me break down what really happened that day, because the details are more fascinating than the initial headlines suggested. When Stalions appeared on Central Michigan's sideline wearing Chippewa coaching gear and sporting an official bench pass, everyone immediately jumped to the obvious conclusion. After all, this was the same guy who had allegedly orchestrated an elaborate sign-stealing operation for Michigan. Naturally, people assumed he was there gathering intelligence on Michigan State, one of the Wolverines' biggest in-state rivals. But here's the part most people miss. According to the NCAA's comprehensive 74-page investigation report released recently, Stalions had actually been contacted directly by Central Michigan's coaching staff. They wanted his expertise during their live game against the Spartans, not his services as a spy for Michigan. The NCAA's findings reveal a more complex story than initially reported. As stated in their official documentation, Stalions attended the contest wearing Central Michigan-issued coaching attire and stood on their sideline with proper credentials. While he did observe Michigan State's signals during the game, his primary purpose was reportedly to assist a Central Michigan staff member with real-time play-calling decisions. CBS Detroit's crime reporter Gino Vici dug deeper into this story and uncovered some eye-opening details. According to his investigation, Central Michigan's coaching staff proactively reached out to Stalions, essentially recruiting him for game day assistance. Even more intriguing? Sources suggest that then head coach Jim McElwain not only knew about this arrangement, but likely gave it his blessing. Think about the implications here for a moment. If these reports are accurate, it means Stalions wasn't some rogue operative working in the shadows for Michigan. Instead, he was functioning more like a freelance consultant, lending his expertise to Central Michigan's coaching staff during a crucial game. Now here's where the legal technicalities get interesting, and where reasonable people might disagree about the severity of this violation. The NCAA cited violation of bylaw 11.6.1, which prohibits in-person scouting by institutional employees. Both Michigan and Stalions acknowledged that his physical presence at the game constituted a clear breach of this rule. There's no wiggle room there. Being on the sideline as a Michigan employee while another team played violated the regulations, regardless of his actual purpose. However, Stalions argued that this should be classified as a Level 3 violation, essentially a minor infraction. His reasoning seemed to be that since he wasn't there primarily to benefit Michigan, the spirit of the rule wasn't as severely compromised. The NCAA's Committee on Infractions wasn't buying it. Though, they firmly disagreed with this characterization and treated it as a more serious matter. But here's what I find most fascinating about this entire situation. Central Michigan's role in facilitating this arrangement completely changes the narrative. If CMU coaches actively solicited Stalions' help, doesn't that make them equally culpable in any wrongdoing? And what does it say about the current state of college football that coaches are apparently willing to bend rules and create these gray area situations? The consequences have been real and significant. Central Michigan now finds itself under NCAA investigation for its involvement in this incident. A fallout has already claimed casualties. Both Jim McElwain, who was serving as head coach at the time, and Jake Kostner, the offensive coordinator, have since departed the program. Interestingly, both of these coaches had previous connections to Michigan staff, which adds another layer of intrigue to this already complex story. What makes this situation even more thought-provoking is how it exposes the interconnected nature of college football coaching circles. McElwain and Kostner's Michigan connections weren't coincidental. They likely played a role in how Stalions ended up on Central Michigan's sideline in the first place. From a practical standpoint, you might wonder whether it actually mattered that Stalions was helping CMU instead of spying for Michigan. After all, he was still a Wolverines employee at the time, and his presence on that sideline still violated NCAA regulations. The technical violation occurred regardless of his motivations or who benefited from his expertise. Yet the distinction does matter when we consider the spirit of the rules and the potential penalties involved. There's a meaningful difference between a rogue employee conducting unauthorized intelligence gathering and a staff member providing legitimate coaching assistance at another school's invitation. This case highlights some broader questions about how college football operates behind the scenes. How common are these informal consulting arrangements between coaching staffs? Are other schools engaging in similar practices that just haven't been discovered yet? And most importantly, do the current NCAA regulations adequately address the realities of modern college football? The Stalions saga continues to evolve, and each new revelation seems to add more complexity rather than clarity. What started as a straightforward sign-stealing scandal has morphed into a multi-layered story involving multiple institutions, coaching networks, and regulatory gray areas. So here's my question for you. Do you think Stalions' actual purpose that day should influence how severely this violation is punished? Is there a meaningful difference between spying for your employer and helping another team, even if both technically break the same rule? And what does this whole situation tell us about the current state of competitive integrity in college football? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are we being too harsh on these kinds of technical violations, or do the rules exist for good reasons, regardless of intent?